All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Monday, so you know what that means. We come here live, we show up, we talk video, we talk live streaming, we answer questions, do some Q&A, all that good stuff. So I'm glad that all of you are here. I'm going to check the chat and see who is here live and on time. Those of you all that jump in early, you get your questions answered early. That's my goal. I know sometimes I get long with it with my guests, so I have to make sure that I get to y'all's questions. Jasmine, Sandra, Michael, I see you all on YouTube. Michael says, "Hey Monty, this is going to be an interesting. Looking forward to it." I am too, because Ross is a legend. I have a little story that Ross may not know about him that I know, because yeah, it's not bad. Uh, Camera Junkie, what's going on? Jarhead, good to see you there too. Um, what was that question? Okay, I don't know what that is, man. Over here, don't confuse me too early. Good to see you guys here. We're going to be talking about video, how to create and build an interview, how to build a show. Essentially, an interview is just part of a show. That's one element, right? So I'm excited to have my guest on here. But before we get started, let me make sure that you guys know that I am on YouTube and on Amazon Live. So towards the end of the show, we will talk about different gear, different products that our guests like to use for their videos. So if you're interested in any of that, if you're watching on Amazon Live, you could just like click it because we got some stuff linked there. And then if you're on YouTube, you can watch Hangout, Super Chats, all that good fun stuff over here. Go watch the other videos that I just uploaded like yesterday and some of the ones I'm working on. So we're on two places today. Every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mark your calendars. I got guests lined up for like the next month. So if you guys love these different topics, let me know. If there's a topic in particular that you may want me to bring a guest on to have that discussion, let me know as well. We've been covering the gamut of topics, you guys. So love doing this and love being able to set aside dedicated time to bring on other people that I respect in these industries behind the cameras, right? So don't be surprised if I call on one of you all in the chat to be a guest, all right? All right, building a live streaming show that grows your business. Okay, that's going to be our show today. So as you guys are listening to my guest today, if you have questions, make sure you go ahead and put those in. Like I said, I want to get to the questions earlier because I think last week I waited way too long to get to some of y'all's questions because Coach Deb were kind of catching up on some things too, because she really was speaking the same language that I was speaking, and there's just kind of a lot of during that episode. So make sure you go check out last week's if you missed it. All right, let's get started here. Without further ado, let me clean up my backgrounds over here. He said, "Oh, good." What's going on, Brian? Good to see you here too. Good to see you here. All right, my guest today is a live streaming video. I'm gonna call him guru. I don't even use the word guru that often, but I have followed my guest online in these digital streets, I don't know, for a few years. And what my guest does not know is one of the main reasons, probably the reason I got started on one of my favorite platforms, Amazon Live, is because I saw this gentleman do a video about Amazon Live, and I was like, he's credible. Let me see what this Amazon Live thing is. And then I kind of just dove into it. But that was like the first time I saw the words Amazon and live together. I had heard of Amazon. I had heard of live streaming, was already doing live streaming. So this guy that I'm about to bring on the screen, Mr. Ross Brand, is my special guest today. What's going on, Ross? How you doing today?
Hey, Monty, it's an honor to be on with you. And wow, so I this isn't the first time that I've heard that from people, and it always makes me kick myself because I was on early. I mean, I was on really early. I put the videos together about how to get on, how to use it with other gear, and I did some myself, but I had other things going on at the time, and I didn't really stick with it. So of late, I've been watching your videos and listening to you in Clubhouse and trying to figure out what's going on with the platform and how I can get back up to speed on it. But yeah, that video is great for anybody looking to get started, and I'm glad you took advantage of it. You've done amazing on the platform, and you've been great about sharing that knowledge back with other people.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate you for putting that video out there. It has helped a lot of it has helped a lot of other people because I was in a couple rooms, and when I say the words, you kind of remember like where you kind of heard stuff from, and how you got
Right.
started. And so yeah, your video, and I intentionally did not want to tell you in the clubhouse room because I was like, if Ross is on the show, I can tell him then. It's kind of a surprise, but yeah, your
Yeah.
video was the reason that I got started on Amazon Live. So if you guys can't tell. I love following people that are looking ahead, that are innovative, that are like what is coming up. If you haven't figured out that you need to follow Ross as we get started, make sure you go follow Ross. Ross, I'm gonna have you introduce yourself, tell the people
Sure.
what it is that you do, and then we'll kick this show off, sir.
Sure. So, as you can probably guess from Live Stream Universe, I'm a live streamer. My background was in radio. I did talk radio for 12 years, fell into a platform called Blab one day, not knowing what to expect. And it was basically like talk radio with webcams, except that people were streaming on their computers, and anybody could host a show from home. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I was hooked immediately. And since then, I've been hosting shows, working with brands, helping people develop their own content and monetize their content. And I've really enjoyed it over the last almost 7 years. And then this past year, I've been doing these predictions every year. I turned it into a book, and that went really well. So a lot more that we can talk about as we go along, but that's a brief introduction to me and what I do.
Yeah, we're gonna start with Blab because I did not know
Okay.
you were on Blab. I was on Blab. And I remember getting on there, like you said, like it was like a four-person video window,
Hmm.
and that was the first time I had experience with using video and audio at the same time. And I still am, and the one guy that was on there with me, I'm gonna have to have him on here too, Evan. Like we stayed in contact over Blab, and I thought it was like this cool concept. I was like, okay, we can just go live. He was like teaching his thing, I was teaching my thing, and we show up in these rooms together. So you are the first person that I've heard like reference Blab outside of my guy Evan that I've talked to. So like nobody knows like what is that. So that's pretty cool. So we've been in this about the same amount of time. So I like that. What other platforms have you used, Ross?
Wow.
That are video platforms out there?
All right. So I was all about Blab. I mean, I thought Blab was like my platform and would be forever, right? And
Yep.
then I learned as that started to decline and I needed to jump ship, you better build your own platform, not tie yourself completely to somebody else's.
Yep.
So after that, I went to a platform called Fire Talk,
Okay.
which was kind of nice, but didn't have really good discovery. And eventually they went out of business. And then I went to something called Blue Jeans.
Okay. Yep.
And they're pretty high quality, but very much more of a meeting platform, not really like their whole setup wasn't really geared toward broadcast, even though you could stream to social. So you'd get a high quality recording, but it was more like feeling like you were in a Zoom or something than it was. And then a platform called Be Live came along. And
Yep.
Be Live was the first one that had some of the features that a Wirecast or an OBS had. Not at that level by any stretch, but you could put comments on the screen. You could make lower thirds. You could actually change shots, put somebody full frame. Then you could go to a side by side. You could share your screen. There were different things you could do on Be Live, and I like the ease of bringing on guests through platforms like that. So while I used Wirecast for my solo stuff, and I would line up all the scenes and all the shots and everything, I for bringing on guests, it just wasn't efficient time wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I used Be Live until somebody told me about a platform called um, StreamYard, and it's actually I don't know if you know Beauty Bubble TV. She's the
Okay.
one who said you got to check out the StreamYard. I'm like, I got Be Live. What do I need StreamYard for? And she's like, no, 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 just come in and we'll walk through it and everything. And immediately, it was a different level of audio and video quality,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a little bit more professionally designed. It was very similar to Be Live in the beginning, and then it just it continued to get better. It was always stable. All the features they rolled out, they made their own multi-streaming
Yep.
capabilities, and I ended up first. I had hosted a show for Be Live on their platform. They paid me as a host. I co-hosted a show with Rachel Moore called Best of Be Live, and every week we would feature a couple of the people we thought were using the platform the best, and then we would intersperse that with tips for live streaming and things like that. So I did that for about a year, and then after I guess using StreamYard actively for about a half a year, I hosted a show called StreamYard Connect for StreamYard on their starting on their LinkedIn, I think, and then we added Facebook Live, and eventually we went to the YouTube channel. In the beginning, they didn't really have their channels built up all that much, so we're actually going live on my LinkedIn Live first, and then they started building over time. But I did that for about, I don't know, if as much as a year and a half, maybe.
Okay.
But that was a really cool experience. I, I really liked how that show turned out. I really liked seeing the growth of StreamYard from when I started till the end. And then I started getting more into virtual events, and I hosted my own virtual summit last year. And that's now I'm sort of doing different things, right? You
Yeah.
get books, you got virtual summits. I'm
Yep.
going to be launching a course soon in which I'm going to take people, like 10 people who are really serious about learning to live stream and set up a show. And it's going to be, I'm going to call it Stream Stars, which goes back to my first show was called Live Stream Stars. And it's going to be like, they're tech incubators and they're startup incubators. This is going to be a live stream incubator. You're going to, if you go, whoever goes through that course will come out at the end with a functioning show that's, they can be proud of, where they can be seen and heard, that's branded, that's, the content's on point, and I will promote it as well and have them on to talk about their show and spread the word. I mean, I think there's nothing like this out there, so I'm excited. I'm going to start April 1st, and this is actually the first time I discussed it publicly, other than to say I had an idea for a course and tell you later. So if anybody's interested in that, just reach out to me. I don't have any landing pages or anything. Just kind of a reach out to me. There'll be an application eventually because I want to make sure that the people who do it are really interested. But I would say that the book, doing an annual event, which by the way, I'm going to invite you to speak at, and I can tell you, I also pay all the speakers, which nobody
Yes.
in this industry does. So if you'd like to speak, you're at the top of my list of people I want to have this year. And well, that's enough for now.
Yeah.
I'll come up with something else later that I forgot, but
That's good.
that's a little idea what's going on.
That's good. So yeah, so you've got some history behind you, because you mentioned like some of the other platforms, and I've been through my share of platforms too. And when you had mentioned about the interview aspect, the technical issues sometimes behind it, these are obstacles that we have to overcome and challenges. And I remember teaching people, live streaming through the OBS software. Like it was the popular, was free back in the day, but you had to do all the work. You could do cool custom branded things, but you had to do all the work to set it up, and it would become a hiccup for people, if they wanted to do certain things. But one thing that's been consistent, I think, is the fact that we've learned these platforms and how to go live, but that element of like doing what we're doing now, like a show, has still remained the
Right.
same. It's just these different softwares that we use to do it, or different platforms that we put the show on. Let's talk about like building a show, these elements of a show, Ross.
Mhm.
Get us started. Like, describe what is a show? What is a live stream show? I guess is a question that we need to determine what that is before we even jump into it.
Well, a few years ago, I probably would have said something that happens at a regular time on a regular schedule, interval that people know what the content's going to be in general. It's got a theme. I don't know if that's so anymore. I don't think it means you have to go live every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. which by the way was my time for like the first 3 or 4 years I was live streaming. So it's a great time. It's a smart choice.
Okay.
Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, I don't think that has to be the case anymore. You can maybe go at different times. You can be flexible with your schedule. You can do sort of pop up live streams. But I think it's the idea that you're not just sort of standing, you're not doing, there's several different kinds of live streams. I don't know that there's any sort of agreed upon name for them. I call one the walk and talk, right? Where you take your phone and you just walking along and you sort of sharing whatever's on your mind, or you're talking to the people. There's the kind of Q&A, but also just kind of engage my chat and my community kind of live stream. But a show has a little more structure around it. You have a topic that in general is what you're going to talk about each week. Then, you may have a lot of latitude within that, but there's a structure. There's something that there's a common thread to the content. And it really, it all starts with the content. The gear is is something that facilitates what we do, but somebody's good, if this mic went out and the lights went out and everything else, and I had to pick up a phone and like do it like that, I would stay on, and it wouldn't look or sound as good, but it wouldn't be completely unlistenable or impossible for you to continue the show, right? The
Hmm.
show, the value, if you can have value in your content, what the bar you need to meet in terms of the tech isn't that high that people can't do it, and on different budgets. And then of course when your content gets better and you grow, you're going to want to raise the level of your production to meet the content. But I think one of the problems that people have when they get started is they put the production quality first, and they go out and they buy a lot of expensive gear. And you know what? The first time you go live, if you've never done this before, I mean, I can remember the first time I went live on radio, right? You're going to be embarrassed of it. You're going to go, that sucked. And you know what? I just spent, imagine how much worse you're going to feel when you just spent all this money and you're like, I'm a professional broadcaster and I got my mic and I've got everything and I've got the best lighting and camera. And now I did a horrible show. Whereas if you go live with, some basic tools that you have and it isn't that good, okay, you continue to develop the content.
Yep.
And then that will carry you on through whether you're using professional equipment or you have to improvise at the last minute and go live, just holding your phone or maybe even a lesser, built-in webcam from an old computer or something like that.
Yeah, I remember going live with my webcam, and then it
Hmm.
was two webcams. Then I turned it into three webcams, and then eventually I bought a light, and then
Right, right.
eventually I bought a monitor. Like, yeah, so the production will go up as you level up and the content gets there, like you said, because that is the last thing you want to do is buy all this equipment. You invest all this money in equipment for like two people to show up and see your video.
Right.
It's like, no, let's practice. Let's get on live and let's practice. Let's go live. Get a decent microphone. Like, Ross, the prices has come down on like everything. Like, it to do what we're doing now used to cost a lot of money, like
Hmm.
transitions and lower thirds, and then when, like, I think when OBS like became popular for the live streaming community outside of the gaming community, we just saw so many people being able to tap in and like, oh, I can go live, and it really just cost me like what I have. I have a computer. Okay, let's just make it work. I have a $50, $60 webcam. I make it work. I have my microphone that's built into my laptop. Like, there was no reason to go live
Hmm.
or not to go live, and now we're in 2022. So, I mean, you guys definitely. I mean, the softwares that are out here are incredible to like start going live. I told y'all I would look at y'all in the chat here. Let me make sure I do it. What's going on, Kurt? I see you. The Barros, I see you. I see somebody was from Bali. I thought I saw on there. I missed who it was though. Um,
Hmm.
Kurt is a Ross Brand fan, by the way. Good to see
Nice.
you there,
Hey.
Rome. Rome said he found me on YouTube watching OBS videos. Didn't realize you were on Amazon. Yeah, Kurt, I'm double dipping tonight. I'm live streaming a show and double dipping on YouTube and Amazon. Um, what platform are you using tonight? So after all those platforms we talked about, I'm using Wirecast tonight. So Ross he's familiar with Wirecast too. It's always funny, um, especially now everybody's using a lot of web-based platforms. Ross and I'll say Wirecast, and they'll look at me like cross-eyed, like what is that? I was like, it was my platform of choice to go live, and I've been using it ever since. Um, so Ross, you've been doing these live stream shows and everything. Give us some tips on like how to think about doing a show before you even do it, because when because matter of fact, Kirk is here, and one of the things I did was watch other people in their live
Mhm.
stream show, because you have that thing called a run a show, and you're like,
Right.
some type of system in place versus just like I'm just gonna go live and just whatever sticks, and that can work to some degree if you have like some personality and everything.
Mhm.
But like when I hear the word show, I think structure, and I've been able to follow the lead of some other people that I look at in the industry. You, of course, because I was watching your show, I would see, okay, he has good guests that come on the
Right.
show.
Right.
Like they have a topic that they actually talk about. So can you give us like some tips on like actually producing a good show, things to think about, for those people that are interested in like
Yeah.
actually doing it?
So it starts with an overall show topic or goal, what you're going to talk about with your show. And if you're going to use this, as most people do to some extent, to be a part of your business, then while your content doesn't have to be about your business or your products or your services, there's usually some sort of line back to that, right? There's some sort of thread of connection. But each individual episode, the planning comes in. What is the topic going to be? Who do I want to talk to? Who the guest is going to be? Uh, Up with, if it's an interview show, say you're doing an hour interview show, I like to think in terms of three segments. So, what are three different things that I can talk to this guest about? If I was interviewing Monty, I might talk to him about, just like he did with me, I might talk to him about how he got started live streaming. Then I might focus on what he's doing on YouTube. And then here's some tips for those people trying to get on Amazon Live. And we'll go into that with him. Um, Now, if we're talking and something goes a direction I wasn't expected and it's good, we stay on that road. And if I have three things planned and one isn't moving, we jump off that road. But in general, I took the idea that live streaming is more like radio than TV, in that people are coming in and going all the time. Just
Yeah.
like with radio, people get into their cars and get out of their cars. So you want to have things that you can promote that are coming up. So in a few minutes, we're going to talk to somebody about something, right? Or we're talking to somebody, the next thing we're going to cover. And you don't have to say it like that, but it's the idea that, at this very moment, you might not be captivated by it, but there's something coming up that you might even be more interested in. And earlier we talked about such and such. So you've got three topics and you can promote them coming up. You can recap and look back on what you discussed. Hint, hint, check out the replay and you can see what you missed. Um, and that way I don't necessarily have to. If you're new, I'd say script some questions in the beginning, but I don't, for me, I don't really script anything. I know when I invite you on a show, Monty, I know why I'm having you on the show.
Right.
And that's the big thing that people miss, right? I'm not having you on the show just because you're a name on YouTube or Amazon Live. Like, what are we going to talk? Why are you coming on the show? Now, if you're world famous, if LeBron James is coming on the show, I don't have to go, we're having LeBron James. We're going to talk to him about basketball, right? Like, I think everybody knows who LeBron James is, but anybody anybody else, right? Anybody below a LeBron James or a Tom Hanks or, that level of fame, right? Why am I having them on the show? So even though part of the audience might not know who my guest is, it's the why that they tune in for. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to talk to Monty about how you can leverage Amazon Live and make money on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. I'd like to make money on Amazon Live. So uh, there's so many different elements to this that I can't even begin to, like, we're just scratching the surface. But it's the idea: why are people tuning in? What is it gonna? What are you gonna talk about? Who are you talking to? And why should I want to know what that person has to say? And then within it, we're going to talk about, we talked about coming up later. Um, and then I think all that makes a show. And then you've got all these great questions that just come out of listening.
Yeah.
The biggest interview skill in the world is listening. The worst thing you see, and you see it on TV. You'll see it on TV tonight if you watch one of the news channels. Somebody will ask a guest the question, right? The guest will answer the question and say a few other things, and then they'll look down at the notes that either they wrote out or the producer prepared, and they'll ask a question that the guest just answered in the last question because they weren't listening, right? So your best questions come out of listening. Monty says something if I were interviewing him, and I go, that's interesting. I'd like to know more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Not every time. Sometimes there'll be an answer. It's like, boy, he completely captured that, or that wasn't such a great question. There wasn't much there to work with. Let's move on to the next one. But it's all a feel thing, and you only develop that by doing it.
Yeah.
But back to the show idea, it's about having that big structure and then enjoying the live part, the freedom to, ad lib and ask questions and have a conversation that doesn't have to be super structured, to engage your chat, to bring things in from the chat. But I think the other part of the show that's really important is the consistency. It
Mm-hmm.
may be the time and date, but the show has a name. It has it has a host, and you drill that stuff home, and you share about it on social media and on your website and everywhere else. You go on other people's shows, you mention your show, and even though the audiences aren't always that big for live streaming shows, particularly for people starting out who don't have a big built-in audience the way organic reach is on a lot of the platforms right now, you still have so many opportunities to let people know who you are and what you're doing,
Yeah.
that they can discover you even if they don't watch the show. And we haven't even gotten into the idea of like repurposing and
Yeah.
promos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too. Is like, you build this catalog of shows of interviews, and when you do go on another person's podcast or live stream, it's like, yeah, you've been on both sides of the table. Like you know how to conduct the interview from one side, and I remember somebody was teaching me that. I see Michael in the chat. He said, "Have we got the Q&A yet?" Yeah, we'll jump into Q&A. I said I want to do it early for y'all tonight. Michael said, "How long do you suggest a live stream should be?"
Oh man, that's the big question. I think it's as long as you have good content that you can share and keep an audience interested. You could do. I think you can be too short. I don't know if you can be too long if the content keeps up. If the content drops, the nice thing is you do not have a clock like TV and radio does. So you can also vary it based on the level of engagement, the level of interest, how much more you think the conversation has a value that you can get out. Have you covered everything you wanted to? That being said, I wouldn't do less. If you're doing a show, I wouldn't do less than 15 minutes to 20 minutes at the far minimum. But a half an hour to an hour is kind of the sweet spot, I think. 40 to 60 minutes is a nice length of time. It all depends on what you're doing. If you're doing sort of a headline news kind of show, you're going to go through some topics or through some items, or you talk about some products. You can certainly do that in 20 to 30 minutes. Now, you may think strategically, if I keep going a little longer, my audience is building, right? Maybe I'll stay on a little longer and answer some more questions. You have that flexibility with live streaming. But
Hmm.
for an interview show, I think 20 to 30 minutes is the bare minimum, right? And
Yeah.
then you have some content there that you can make use of afterwards as well.
And get a good guest.
Yeah.
Because if you get a good guest, you're able to go longer. Because I know,
Hmm.
when I first got started, I did not want to be in front of the camera. It's like every minute, it's like you could count the minutes. It's like, oh my gosh, I've
Right.
been on here forever, and you look down, it's only been 2 minutes, and it's like, but I've been
Right.
on here forever. It's time to get off. But I learned early on, like if you are able to have that conversation with a guest, it just makes the time go by so much faster. And you're still providing value. It's like you're bringing two pieces of value instead of one. And it doesn't seem, that hurdle is a little bit easier to
Right.
get through. And especially if you have a good guest on there or somebody that's done it before, they can, and you just let them know, hey, I'm new to this, I'm getting started. And it's almost
Right.
like, can you carry this for me and just answer these questions a little bit longer? That way the show goes a little bit longer. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Ross, because if it's too short, the algorithms don't even push the live notifications out. I'm not
Right.
sure what it
Right.
is now, but I remember at one point, like Facebook, it was like 10, 15 minutes sometimes before people would get a notification, if they even got the notification. I
They,
didn't know you were
they don't
live.
like to send too many notifications out on some of these platforms now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's another topic for another day in itself. It's like you got to have your own email list, send it out, and that's
Right.
something I'm
Right.
working on too. Text message list. So it's like, hey, get on the text club. I'll send you a text, like
Hmm.
5 minutes before I go live. That way, people can show up to the live stream and watch. Because there are people that want to support you guys, if they knew that you were live. Because we're all got busy lives, right?
Yeah, you need a whole infrastructure around the show. Now, none of that should stop you from getting started, but
Yeah. Great question, Mike. Great question. If you guys have additional questions, let us know before we get into our product talk. Because I'm going to ask Ross what he's using, because I know this is always fun for me. Because as a techie, I like to know what other people are using. But I got the insight before you guys do. Those of you who are watching on Amazon Live, you can see the products that we're going to talk about a little bit later tonight. All right, Ross. I've been doing these interview shows, right? And one of the things
Mhm.
that I really love about doing the shows is I get to learn from other people like yourself. Um, but one of the things I'm constantly trying to do is like improve on being the host of the show, because it's different than just showing up by yourself and just going live. But as the host of the show, you have to drive the show. You have to navigate the show, and you hit on a lot of good points on like how to do that. What are some tips that you can give for people that are trying to do everything, in terms of like, I got software running, I've got chat going, I've got a host I got to deal with, I got a screaming baby, I got neighbors over here, the distractions of what's going on. How, because we're all going to face it in our live stream where things just happen. How can you help us do it all? Because it seems like a lot, Ross. It's too much.
Well, make a commitment first of all that if things don't go well, you're going to do your best to keep the show going and keep it on the air. If there's a natural disaster, if you have a family emergency or something, or there's just noise that make it impossible to be heard, okay, you probably want to shut it down. But if you're in good health and it's a technical issue, try and solve it. Try and keep it on. Use second best equipment. If you're using like a web based platform or something, see if you can access it on your phone. Assume that some of the audience is staying there and try and get back up and running again and deliver some of what you promised. So that would be one thing. The other thing is take a deep breath and do what we call in radio a reset. So say your name, the name of your show, who your guest is, welcome everybody who just joined us. This is what we're talking about. Let's say hi to some of the people in the chat. Find things that you can do that don't take a lot of brain power while you're trying to solve whatever's going on and keep the conversation going.
Hmm.
Now, what do you do as far as not overwhelming yourself? I mean, I don't know what to tell you about crying babies or Sometimes the power crashes and there's nothing you can do. As far as producing, don't overwhelm yourself. This is an issue that comes up even at the highest levels of television, right?
Yep.
A producer is given a new toy, a new feature, and they feel that they have to work that into remember, if you remember watching sports 20, 30 years ago, the telestrator came out, and every analyst had to draw all over every replay on a sporting event because they had the ability to draw on the screen, right? Whether it made any sense to the broadcast or not. So a clean broadcast is fine. It's the content and the conversation in live streaming. Live streaming is first and foremost an audio medium, even though we use video. If the conversation isn't good, if the value isn't being given in what's being said, the visuals aren't going to sustain 1 hour of conversation between Monty and I. If this wasn't interesting to you, and of course it is, but if it wasn't, you're not staying here because Monty's got a nice camera or he does a nice job of switching. You're here because of the value that he brings every time he talks. And that's why you're here first and foremost. That's not to say you don't want to do a good production, but don't overwhelm the production.
Yeah.
If putting one line of text on the screen is helpful to the viewer to understand what's going on, 2 lines don't make it better. 10 lines probably are going to make it a lot worse. The tools that these platforms give you, you don't feel guilty if you don't use them. They're there when you have a broadcast that may require them at a certain specific time. Don't make it more complicated. You only have 2 hands, and if you're producing it by yourself, keep it realistic. Switch to a couple of shots if you switch. Don't have 13 scenes set up for a talk show. You're only going to make your audience dizzy going back and forth and doing all that stuff.
Ross, we only have 2 hands? What?
Yeah, I know. I know you got that foot pedal there where you can just shut your guests right down if you need to.
Yeah, I saw that's going around. Y'all don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about that Elgato foot pedal. You just tap your foot and you can make magic happen.
Yeah, but that's so keep it simple. The other thing is, while you want to engage the chat is what makes a live stream different from radio and TV and uploaded videos, unless you're doing a premiere. The chat is what makes this special in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You still have to focus on the entire audience that you're talking to. So if trying to get too deep into the chat when you're first starting out is going to take away from the interview, understand that one person whose question you didn't answer might not love it at that moment, but the other 200 people watching are happy you kept the show going and asked your guest the good question, everything. So you want to be able to do what you can without bringing the show to a halt, trying to keep up with every comment and question that goes by. And then ideally, as time goes by, you'll get better at managing the chat, at bringing comments in. And you'll also, maybe at some point, I haven't done this on a regular basis either, but I've done it once or twice. Maybe you have somebody helping you in the chat, either typing in saying, hey, Monty, he'll get to you in just a few minutes, or at the end of the segment, he's going to answer questions. Or maybe they're passing a note to you going, don't forget to answer this person's question. But don't let the chat overwhelm you. Your responsibility isn't to break up your content. Treat the chat like a segment if it gets in the way. I'm going to ask you some questions about how you got started live streaming. Then I'm going to take a break. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I don't have to say I'm taking a break, but let's see what's going on in the chat. There's some good questions here. I want to ask you this one, whatever. Then come back. Let's move on to what you're doing on Amazon Live. Mm-hmm. So instead of going to commercial break, you go to the chat. And the show keeps going and keeps moving. People are engaged instead of leaving to go to the bathroom or whatever during a commercial. But you're keeping the show moving, and there's a structure that can work for you if you're not that comfortable. And I mean, it took me a long time, and even to this day,
Yep.
I can't say that I'm super smooth at trying to handle, some of these people just go down and they can hit everybody. I can't do that,
Yeah.
and keep a show moving. But it is good to engage. And the key thing is to bring in the comment or the question that you wouldn't have thought of or you wouldn't have asked,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then credit the person who said it and then make it a part of the show. That's really that's special about the chat that you just don't have in other mediums.
Yeah. Yeah. Ross, you're dropping some knowledge on us here. Um, Speaking of chat, let me jump over here and see who done joined us over here because I saw a good question in there I wanted to get to too. Danny, what's going on? That's the one I saw you had a question there. I saw Mike say enhance, not distract. Um, AJ, what's going on? AJ said, what about 12 scenes? Oh my gosh, I got so many ways I could go with that one. Um, I'm here for the camera switch, and Monty has a sweet camera switch. Thank you. I actually don't have all my cameras up today because I was recording some content. So like one of my cameras literally is like right here. Like usually this is the one that's up there in the corner and stuff. Yeah. So I wanted to get back over here. I saw AJ pop in here. AJ, I get you on the show here. You got to make sure you get on my show because AJ does some live streams as well, not show style but like Q&A style. So I don't want you guys to get confused. Like Q&A is different than like doing a show because you might have sponsors. This show is
Right.
sponsored by Blueprint Influencers. There's certain obligations that I have to hit when you have sponsors on your show, which is another way you can monetize yourself. All right, I want to talk about your book, Ross. Let's talk about your book. You have been getting a whole bunch of insight from a whole bunch of people in this space. Let's talk about the book. What you got going on there?
So for 7 years just before the beginning of the next year, I've done live streaming predictions in which I've reached out to live streamers, content creators, entrepreneurs in the space, and asked them for their predictions for what's going to happen the next year. A lot of those predictions also include advice, tips, things to focus on, trends. And once the pandemic hit, everybody sort of got into live video in some way, right? Everybody was using Zoom and doing Zoom calls, and it became something that live streaming saved businesses. There were people who never thought they would ever do this, and their foot traffic was shut down completely by the lockdowns and the pandemic, and they started live streaming about their business, their products and services. Some of them came up with entertainment shows that they made sponsored by their shop, their store, their business. And live streaming enabled them to stay in business. And that was one of the coolest things about live streaming during that time. So basically, I would put this on my blog, the predictions, and it would be more geared towards industry people reading about other industry people. But I felt with everybody now getting into the act with live video, using it in one way or another, it was time to share this out to a larger audience. So I made a book out of it, and I added additional predictions that weren't in the blog, so there'd be some unique content. And that was the first book. That's my first book. I'm actually going to come out with another one, hopefully within the next month.
Awesome, awesome. Um, when y'all saw you said 100 predictions, I was like, man, that's a lot of people in there. And I saw a couple of people that I recognized. I was like, yep, he's Ross got some good people in that book. If you're on Amazon, I got it linked as the first product in the carousel. If you're watching on Amazon, and then I put it in the YouTube chat as well. Um, let's get into some techie talk here.
Okay.
Because as a live streamer, we do need equipment, and then over time we
Mhm.
do upgrade. And I'm just kind of nosy, and I want to know what everybody else is using because I just like good stuff. I saw AJ said he actually has the foot pedal that's going to show up.
Yeah.
It's got rescheduled, so now Now I'm gonna have to look into it because I was not gonna get another thing. I got too much stuff here already, and I was not gonna get another thing. And then when you follow people on YouTubes and Amazons and Facebooks and Instagrams, and you're like, "Dang, they got one of those. Like, how can I use that in here just to add something else to it?" So I told AJ he's got to let me know how he likes that foot pedal thing. Um, let's get into some tech stuff,
Sure.
Ross. Let's start with the microphone. What you using over there? It looks familiar
I'm
to me.
using, I think, the same one you are. That's the legendary Shure SM7B. It's a dynamic mic. It's one that it was one of two microphones along with the Electro Voice RE20 that was in every radio station that I worked at. Had either this one or the RE20. In radio, I like the RE20 better for recording and live streaming from home. I like this one better. It just has a very natural, warm sound, and it's very versatile. You can use it for a lot of different applications, and it rejects noise. It has a very low output, which means you need a um, powerful audio interface or mixer or some type of uh, strong gain. Some people use what's called a mic activator. I was trying to think of the term, like cloud lifter, FET head,
Hmm.
something like that, along with their interface. It depends what interface you have in order to boost the signal. But the good side of that is it won't pick up much noise that's away from the mic. You can see just as I go off axis a little bit
Yep.
what a difference it makes. With a mic like, let's say, the Blue Yeti, you could go down the street and it would still pick you up.
Yeah.
So the good news is it picks you up from a long way. The bad news is it picks up, you know, every sound in your
Everything.
house, and across the street. So,
Yeah.
so that's one of the things to look for. I love this mic. I also think it looks better on video than a lot of the other mics. So that's a consideration. But I say this mic and the Electro Voice RE20 would be my two favorites. I also think that Shure's USB kind of version of this, the MV7,
Yep.
is the best USB mic I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So you can save money on getting an audio interface. It's got some processing into it. You can use it at more distance if you don't want the mic in your shot. I think that's a great mic. It's a big savings over other mics. And then if you're on a budget, I like the Samson Q2U very much for an entry level. That was what I used when I got started. I used this. It's warm. It's got a full sound. For 59 $69 or whatever. It's a good mic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's USB, but it comes with XLR cable.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the thing with
Anything
mics is
else on mics? I guess I would say the Electro Voice RE50 is my interview mic when I'm out in the field. It's
okay.
not a mic I would ever use to host the show, but if I'm going someplace that's noisy or I'm going to be moving the mic around and stuff, that mic it just captures. It's like kind of the industry standard for what they call electronic news gathering.
Okay. Yeah. It's sometimes I have to remember like which mode I'm in because, like you said, like this mic, you gotta be right there up on it. And then if I walk away, I'm like, oh, I can't do this demo because I walked away from my mic. So if you guys see me lapel up, it's because I know I'm gonna be moving
Right.
around, so I have some mobility versus having to stand stationary. So understanding your use cases is a definitely important part of choosing a microphone. I use I have a Rode, it's an NTG mic, and it's a shotgun mic, but it's USB as well, so I can actually set it on my desk and use it as a mic that I'm talking right into, turn the gain down, or I can throw it on a shotgun and be across the room and
Is
it
that the
picks it up.
little? It's kind of a little
Yeah.
mic, but
Oh, I
you
got it
got.
right here. I got it right here.
Let me see.
Bam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Very
so it's
nice.
USB on one side, so I can plug it directly into my computer, but it's also a shotgun mic that I can just put on the camera. So I have it on a little tripod right now. I use it here and there, but definitely when I'm out recording footage, like a conference or something, that's kind of one that I'll take with me as
Then you don't
well.
have to hold the mic or worry about the lapel mic falling off your
Yeah,
shirt.
yeah, yeah. Especially if you're wearing a t-shirt, right? It's like
Right,
trying to get a
right.
lapel on a t-shirt is not the easiest thing.
What lapel do you use?
I use the Rode Wireless Go to actually have that sitting right here as well. So it's recording footage a little bit earlier.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'll clip this right on, and I actually have it the other end plugged into my ATEM switcher right now. I do have another video that I'm working on. A company reached out to me for another type of lapel mic, just like that, very similar to the Rode. And it's just like live streaming software. It's like all this equipment now has hit us when you have so many different options for
But
what
the
we want to
Go's the one that
accomplish.
comes with the two
Yeah.
pieces, right? And it's wireless, and you.
Yeah, they actually have the new, like the new one is like one transmitter, one receiver. So those people that don't need two mics, you only need
Mhm.
the one mic and the one receiver. They actually came out with the Rode Wireless Go 2 single, I guess is what it's called. And so they work really well. I'm a
Wow.
huge fan of their microphones for sure. Um, let's see what we got going on here. What's going on, AJ? Appreciate the super chat there. Um, Keep up the great work, Monty. Appreciate it. I love YouTube and super chats,
Mhm.
especially when they're orange. I saw Brene in here earlier today. Good to see you as well, Brene. Brene is like my leading. She's my leader in super chat all the time. Let's talk cameras, Ross. What type of camera are you using?
Sure. So you're familiar with this one too. I'm using the Sony A6400 mirrorless camera, and I mean, you could probably talk to it as well as I could, and probably a lot better. But it's got a fast autofocus, and it's just a really nice, clean picture. I have a couple of LED lights, but my lighting could certainly be more on point. But I mean, the video quality has always been good from this camera, and it's great for recording. And I
Yeah.
just wish have a chance to take it out in the field, which I haven't done yet because there's nothing to do yet.
I
I got
I
it.
love my A6400s. Oh my gosh, they record in 4K, and you can change out the lenses. Those are like my
Mm.
two things. And I'm a fan of the flip up screen versus the flip out. No disrespect to my flip out screeners, but I just like the ability to look straight at the camera, look
I like
slightly
it.
above. That way my eyes kind of stay where they need to be. But I'm a huge fan of these cameras. I know that the chip shortages have made it a little difficult to get their hands on these, but I love the Sony cameras. I'm a huge fan of the mirrorless cameras. Using a dummy battery, I can just leave it on
Right.
all day long, and it doesn't shut off. It doesn't cut off. And one of the things you said, it's like I'm still working on my lighting here too, so I'm in space where it's kind of hard for me to kind of maneuver the way I want. But the camera like helps compensate for like lighting
Right.
issues too, which is
Right. Right.
a nice aspect of that. I see AJ says he uses the Hollyland Lark 150 as well. Yeah, Hollyland, y'all need to send me the microphone. Y'all sent me like the video stuff. I need y'all to send me the microphone so I can test it out, aka use it on a regular basis. Um, let's jump over here. Video switchers. I see you sent me over the ATEM. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that because I think when Blackmagic released the ATEM, it really allowed us that were in live streaming and video to like really go to that next level real quick because I use three webcams, and when I wanted to switch between them, I had to click buttons and switch to camera two, switch to camera
Mhm.
three. And when they released this, it was like I can hit a button and I can just change like what you see with the click of a
Right.
button.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I only have one camera, and so the best I could do is to fade the black and come back. But it's so great. I mean, first of all, the video quality is better than even the best capture cards that I was using. So
Hmm.
even with one camera, I use it just because of the quality. Um, but you can put Monty was saying, you can put up to four. It's really like four capture cards plus a switcher because you can put up to four cameras with HDMI connection into it, and you can switch from one camera to the next. and then it sends your feed in just as like a USB webcam. So you're doing all your switching in this, and then if you're using software, you just have one scene you have to set up, so to speak, and do your switching right in the switcher. So
Yeah.
right in the hardware, it's literally like one, two, three, four.
Nice and convenient. Plug a microphone into it, hit the record button, and capture that content. And what you said, like fade to black. If you get into a situation on your live stream and like something's going on, like hey, I'll be right back. I need, I gotta go do something, and you can just hit that fade to black button, and nobody sees what's going on. And stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Um, Too funny, too funny.
And it's great. You can also quickly add a phone to it. If you have one of those adapters
Yeah.
that take a phone lightning to HDMI or whatever, you can make your phone a second camera
Yeah.
quickly, and it's a very good camera to
Yeah,
have as a
I
second
use my
camera.
iPad, and because I
Hmm.
love like when I do teaching
Hmm.
and training, I'll plug my iPad into my ATEM and use the whiteboard feature because I talk with my hands a lot and I'm a visual
Right.
person, so I'll draw. Okay, connect this here and it goes here. So I plug my iPad as another device in
Hmm.
in there. So yeah, you can use it as a camera. You can just it's great. It's one of those game changing devices, I think,
Absolutely.
for sure. And last one I got on here is the green screen. It looks like that's what you got right behind you. I own one of those. It's like right behind my desk over here. I
Yeah.
use mine for thumbnail images when I'm not lazy, so I can get some good thumbnails for my pictures. But let's talk about the green screen because Elgato is like the
Yeah.
king of like great equipment.
Yeah. No, this is the Elgato green screen. Shout out to my friend Mike Murphy who recommended this one. I didn't know which one to get. I saw the ones that go on the back of your chair. I saw, everything from budget ones to super expensive. This is high quality. You can actually just sort of shut it like you would push a shade down, and you could slide it out of the way under a table, under a bed, or something. But I pretty much keep it up all the time, and as long as you're in a small area, it's got you covered, and it works. It works. So
Yeah.
it's just a quality product all around.
Yeah, I love because it's portable. Like you said, you can just
Mhm.
fold it straight down and you like take it with you wherever you need to go. It's not overbearing size wise. Where it's I used to have I used to have this big green screen, Ross. Like it was on
Mhm.
these tripod legs and arms, and it went across, and then you had to get the sheet, and you had to hang the sheet out there. And then if the sheet wasn't ironed, you had to go, you like take it back down,
Right,
gotta
right, right.
iron the sheet out because it had all the wrinkles in the green screen. But this thing, like it never wrinkles. You literally
It,
just pull it
it's
up.
self-contained. Exactly. It's like
Yes.
I couldn't. I said shade, but it's like, remember in school when they would show you like a movie or something and they'd spring up the projector
Yep.
screen. It's literally like that. You push it back down and it's 100% self-contained. You
Yeah.
need nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Another one of those like things I just had to have when it came out. Shout
right.
out to Elgato. So,
So you got
uh,
the same one, or
yep, got the same one. Yep, literally, it's sitting like right behind this desk. I'll pull it out and do some thumbnail images when I
right?
bulk thumbnail them, and um,
You take it on the road with you too,
I
or
I haven't
I haven't
before.
yet
Yeah,
because of
now I can see myself doing like local, taking it with me, but like once
Right,
I got to
right.
get on the plane with it, I don't know if I'll
Nah,
take
it's
it with
too.
me. Yeah,
It's that. Then it becomes a little bulky, but
yeah, yeah. But yeah, Elgato makes some awesome stuff. So as we
yeah.
talk about Elgatos and foot pedals, and I'm like, gee, AJ, I'm gonna wait. Look, I'm gonna have AJ do a video on his foot pedal. Yeah, I'm gonna. That's my challenge. AJ, you do a video on the foot pedal, and then I'll go and get one. I'm trying to find a reason not to get it. That's what I'm doing. Ross, I appreciate you for being here. One of the things I like to ask all my guests, and we talked about this before we even went live because I knew you had your book. Is your predictions or what do you envision for 2022 when it comes to video, or maybe it's just some words of encouragement for people to start using video more. What can you leave us with going forward here as we wrap up?
Well, I would say as far as what the future holds, look at e-commerce. Look at the marriage of e-commerce and live video, or e-commerce and recorded video, because that's where it's going. You're going to see more and more the ability to tap a button while you're watching a live stream, and that is going to enable you to buy with one click. And that's going to be a game changer because your viewers can buy whatever product you're talking about without ever leaving the live stream. Amazon's kind of working towards it. It's product carousel, but it's going to become even easier. It's going to become a one-click tap on the screen kind of thing. And when that happens, that's going to be a game changer. We're not going to just use live streaming to kind of top of the funnel kind of thing. It's going to be the sale is made on the live stream more and more, and that's going to be a big thing going forward. The other thing I would say is if you're not doing a live stream show, if you don't have a regular presence with live video, you're missing a tremendous opportunity to create content that it just serves you in so many ways. First of all, you don't have to script it, you don't have to storyboard it, you don't have to shoot it and edit it. You're creating it live. You're talking about things that you're passionate about and interested in about. You have the ability to build connections with people that you have on as guests that maybe you wouldn't be able to speak to in other forums, but you can invite them on a show and give them an opportunity to have an experience where they can promote themselves and feel good, and you build relationships. And then you've got all this content from an hour live stream or even half an hour live stream that you can share. Square videos on Instagram, 2 to 5 minute videos on YouTube, repurpose as a podcast. You have you can build an entire media presence across social media from just doing a weekly live stream, while it's a chance to promote something other than yourself or your business.
Yeah.
See my show, see my guest. And I mean, this is again why I'm so excited about doing the incubator that I'm going to do, where I'm going to work with 10 people and each person's going to have their own show by the end of 1 month. And there's a need in that. A lot of people think about doing it, but they don't really know where to go or how to connect the information. And then they don't have somebody to work with who's going to be hands on and like, this is where we need to make a change. Or if you did it this way. And I can't wait to do that and see more people able to really build their brand and then grow their business online because they have the skills to do a high quality live streaming show. And like I said, only a small part of it is the people watching live. It's the entire ecosystem that you build up around that show that will serve you in so many different ways in your life, in your business, in your relationships. It's really a cool thing.
Yeah, if you guys haven't followed Ross before, make sure you do go back and check out the videos he's done, the lives he's done, the interviews he's done, so that you can really see. Because Ross has been doing the interview stuff way longer than I have. I'm kind of new to tapping into that interview thing, but I think it was something really cool when I really started tapping into it. Is like you could do a whole live show and like you don't have to be the only one standing there for an hour or trying to figure out what can I talk about for an hour.
Right.
And so I really appreciate you, Ross, for being here. I'm a fan of yours, been a fan of yours for a while because I've been following you on social media. Thank you for your Amazon live video and all the. I feel like I owe you something. Maybe I need to super chat you next time you go
Well,
live.
thank you. Thank you for having me. Seriously, you're one of the best people doing this. You do a great show. You do great, tutorials. You're great with helping people with Amazon Live and monetize, and all the clubhouses that I'm seeing you do provide great value. It was fun to be part of it. So it's really, I mean, right back at you. I'm serious. You're really terrific, and I thank you so much for having me on. This is a complete honor, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, you guys check out Ross. I linked all his stuff, all his channels on the YouTube side, so you can check him out. And again, if you want to get started doing this, make sure you reach out to Ross to start. Like my coaching mode is coming on right now. I can like feel it. Like stop giving yourself reasons of why you can't do this or why you shouldn't do it. Video is here. Leverage video. Like when I started putting consistent videos out there on YouTube, things just happened. When I started just showing up live on Amazon, things just started happening. It creates these opportunities for you. So connect with Ross if you want to put together a show. There is value in doing it. There's sponsorship opportunities behind it. That's kind of what even got me back into it. Like literally, a company said, "I'm going to pay you to show up for an hour every single week, and you can talk about what you want to talk about." Like, tap into this, you guys. Connect with Ross. Get started doing video. I appreciate all of you all for being here. Shout out to my YouTube audience. Y'all beat my Amazon Live audience tonight. Maybe I said something last week that got the YouTube audience to show up in larger numbers tonight. You guys remember, every single Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm here. If you guys have questions, if you want to see certain guests, if you want to discuss certain things, definitely reach out to me, and we're going to make it happen. You guys enjoy.